Hello, welcome to Wise Talk Radio. This is Raymond Moore, your host, and I'd love for you to share with your friends, share this post, let people know that we're on Raymond Moore Speaks on Facebook, and let them know so we can share this positive message and get the word out that on a weekly basis on Saturdays at noon, right here on Wise Talk Radio, this programming will be aired. So today I'd like to talk with you about finding your purpose. How do you figure out what your purpose is? How do you find your purpose? How do you take the necessary steps to developing your purpose? Now, one of the things I want to suggest right off the bat is it is essential that you learn the power of purpose. It's one thing to find your purpose. It's something else to learn what purpose can do for you, how purpose can impact your environment. It's as simple as this. If you know that, let's say, for example, a screwdriver was meant to remove screws and to put screws in, then you won't treat a screwdriver like a hammer. So the first thing is knowing what the purpose for something is. And so in your life, the same rule applies, the same principle applies in your life. It's knowing what you were created for, not trying to function in someone else's space, but at the same time walking through a series of steps to help you to figure out why you're here. One of the things you want to do almost immediately is to develop meaning to your life. Now, what do I mean by that? You don't want to be going through life aimlessly, without meaning, without purpose. You want to ensure that there's a sense of meaning as you accomplish your tasks. What you do must add value to you, and it must add value to your environment and those that you're around. When you add value, then you're essentially developing a sense of meaning, and your purpose is being shaped. You want to make your purpose similar to an obsession, if you will, to pull you into your future. Now, if you don't, then every wind of society that blows to the left or to the right or blows you to the rear, you're going to follow that. And so you don't want everything that comes along, every new doctrine that comes along, and every new style and every new fad, you chase after these things. It is essential that as you develop meaning to your life, you also develop a set of core values. And when you develop these core values, you never deviate from them. So make your purpose the obsession of your life. Don't be pulled by the experiences of the past back to the past. Keep moving forward. Too often, we meet people who, when you talk with them, you can literally feel their pain. You can literally feel as if the experience that they're sharing with you is something that just happened. And oftentimes, this is something that happened years ago, 10, 15, 20 years in the past. But people continue to relive the negative, the painful experiences of the past. And as a result, they're like stuck. They're like stuck in stasis. They can't move to the future. They can't even move to a point where they can make another mistake, because all they continue to do is regurgitate the negatives of the past. So I'm going to encourage you today to let the experiences of the past go. Learn from them. You definitely want to learn from them, and you definitely want to grab the lessons, but you also want to move on. You don't want to be stuck there. And the next thing you don't want to do is don't get sidetracked by the current fad of the season. Don't get sidetracked from the goals that you set. Don't allow, simply because someone is going in a particular direction, for that to pull you off course, because that too, ladies and gentlemen, serves as a detractor. that too serves as something that's going to pull you off course. And so you don't want to get sidetracked in that context. Your purpose, then, it must be something that is strong, something that has value, something that is pulling you forward, something that is not allowing you to stand still. It must be so strong, it must be so connected to you that you don't have a choice but to move forward. Now, the more powerful your purpose is, the more it's going to push you into the future. If your purpose, for lack of a better term, is wishy-washy, let's use that word. We've heard people use that word sometimes, and it's really a terminology that means you don't take your purpose seriously. You allow anything to come in and distract you from where you're going. If you allow that to happen, then that thing you call purpose will get pushed to the side. You will shelve that thing. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, you were created for a unique purpose. You're not happenstance. You didn't just show up on the earth. You're not a mistake. Matter of fact, the Bible clearly says in Psalm 139 that you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Additionally, the Bible states that God knows the plans that He has for you. They're plans that are going to prosper you. They're plans that won't harm you. They're plans that will give you a great future. They're plans that create hope. Now, this is not to say that simply because you may have figured out your purpose or you're moving towards your destiny, this is not to say that you will not experience challenges. Matter of fact, Scripture also says you're going to have tribulation. You're going to have some challenges. Now, how serious you are about your purpose will determine how well you overcome the obstacles. Because as the obstacles comes, they're simply tests to determine if you're serious about your purpose. So today, make it your plan. Decide today that no matter what happens, no matter what the tide of life brings, you're not going to give up. You're not turning back. Ladies and gentlemen, regardless of your stance in life, you owe it to yourself to make a real attempt today to discover why you're here. You owe it to yourself and to those you love and to those who depend on you and to those you depend on to discover the purpose for which you were created. Why walk around, in the example I gave you earlier, why walk around thinking that you are a drill when in reality you are a hammer? Why walk around not realizing, as the example says, that you are really an eagle, but you're hanging around with the turkeys? So you look up in the sky, you see the eagle soaring, and you think, man, I'd love to be like that one day, but I am a turkey. I only fly. If you think about chicken and turkeys, they only take flight when they are fearful. They only take flight when there's a major challenge. And you don't want that to be the thing that determines where your life goes. You don't want to be on the ground always scratching, looking for worms with the chickens, and only when there's danger you take to flight. You were born to soar. You were born, there's such uniqueness about you, and you always hear people talk about eagles. They never flock. It's very unlike chickens and turkeys. They never flock. They're solitary. And it's the same thing when it comes to success. Success at the top, people always say that when you get to the top, it's lonely at the top when it comes to success. Lonely in the context that there aren't that many people who are willing to step out. There aren't that many people who are willing to take chances. There aren't that many people who are willing to move forward in spite of the challenges. They'd rather hang with the turkeys. They'd rather hang with the chickens at the bottom and scratch for worms. Complain about how things are not going well. Complain about how the job's not paying them well. Complain about how many bills they have. Complain about the economy. And they complain. But eagles, ladies and gentlemen, they learn to fly early. They take chances. And they realize that stepping out is a necessary ingredient to success. So today, while you may not have figured out what is your true purpose, you still owe it to yourself to step out and start taking chances. As someone says, fail forward. When you fail, fall forward and fail quick. Most leaders, most successful people will not dwell on their failures. They will put a plan together and they'll step out, and when they fail, they learn quickly from their mistakes and they put the next plan in action and they move forward. Now, the average person, what they do, instead of taking that approach, what they do is they fail and they step back and they lick their wounds and they nurse their wounds and they tell everyone how they failed, and they allow other people who have failed in a similar area to reinforce the failure that they just experienced, and to tell them no one has ever done that before. No one in our family has ever succeeded like that. No one in our family has ever taken that kind of a chance. Who do you think you are? And if you allow that negative programming to enter into your computer, you will start saying the same things. You will retreat back into the shadows and stay in the land of average. And you'll never soar with the eagles. You'll be hanging out on the ground with the turkeys, and only when danger comes, it's fight or flight, and for the most part, most people will fly. Now, I want you to identify your purpose, and one of the things that will help you to identify your purpose is look at the challenges that you're currently facing. Think about that for a second. There are some things in your life that continue to nag you. No matter what happens, they nag you. This may be an indicator to what your purpose may be. Now, an example of this is maybe when you're driving on the street, you see homeless people, and it bothers you that there are so many homeless people on the street. Now, you may not have the resources to help them, but it continues to be a nag. It continues to bug your spirit. If you focus on this for a little bit, it may be that within you is the ability to help people who are homeless. And in that, when you take the first step, okay, so what am I going to do? Put a plan together. Maybe I'm going to get a shelter. Maybe I'm going to build this. Maybe I'm just going to start a feeding program. Maybe I'm just going to reach out to one homeless person and start feeding that person and helping that person. On Wise Talk Radio a few months ago, I listened to a young lady who she knew that her purpose was to assist women who were being abused. But here she was, working a full-time job. She has a family of her own. She has no resources to go and help people. But she knew that it was in her DNA to help women who were abused. So she started the research, realized how enormous of an effort it would be to get a non-profit organization up and running. And she started that process. And she started putting the word out there. And she heard about someone who was hours away from Fort Lauderdale, who was being abused. She reached out to the individual, drove several hours, 4 or 5 hours away, got that person in the middle of the night, brought them into a safe environment, found someone who was willing to put them up, helped that person to get back on their feet, and did the next one, and did the next one. And by the time I was listening to the program, this individual had helped 10 women to get out of abusive relationships. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's my point? Identify your pain points, because your pain points may be directly related to the purpose for which you were called. Now, you have to determine in your heart today that problems don't come to stay, they come to pass. Please remember that. If you think your problems, that one of the reasons why your problems are ongoing, and sometimes it's the same thing that continues to repeat itself over and over again, is simply this: you haven't sat back for a little bit to think about, why is it here? How did this problem get here? What steps can I take to solve this problem? Because sometimes the catalyst to determining your purpose or discovering your purpose is to solve one problem at a time. One problem at a time. So don't think that your problems are permanent. Focus on the fact that problems are temporary and they're simply opportunities to help you to grow. Now, you may be listening to me today and you may be feeling the sense of hopelessness, and you may be thinking, Ray, you don't know my situation. You don't know what's happened to me. I've had a death in the family. I've lost my job. I've lost my ability to earn income. I've had this chronic illness for some time, or I may have a child who needs 24-hour care, or maybe I have a parent who needs care all the time. You just don't understand my situation, and you don't understand the fact that I don't have the resources. I get it, ladies and gentlemen. I may not be in your situation specifically, but I get it. We are all faced with challenges. But can I encourage you with something today? There's a scripture in the Bible that says there is no temptation that has come against you. Let me put it in a contemporary term. No temptation that you will ever face was ever designed to destroy you. It's only designed for you to be stronger, because God placed within you the ability to overcome that thing, that challenge. Something may be telling you, go left, go back, stay where you are. But within you is the ability to overcome that thing. And when you overcome that thing, that's when joy gets in. That's when excitement gets in. That's when your adrenaline starts to pump. That's when you get that sense of, yes, I defeated that one. I beat that one. Now you take the next step. So I don't want you to develop this sense of hopelessness, ladies and gentlemen, because hopelessness will always lead to more despair, and more despair creates that sense of depression and fog in your brain, and you'll never think things through. You will never think clearly. You will never develop the ability to have that strategic type of thinking that gets you to the next level. If life is always woe is me, it didn't work for me, it's never going to work for me, that's how you program your brain. I said in my program last week that your memory or your mind is a silent listener to every conversation and every thought. So your mind is listening in, and if you say, I am a failure, if you say, I am hopeless, if you say things aren't working out for me, then your mind will grab those thoughts, and that's what your inner computer gets programmed with. So what's going to come out of your mouth is failure. Thoughts of failure, words of failure. You will always say, I can't, and you don't know why you can't. There's some people who say, I just can't do this well. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at math. Some young people are like, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at science. And they keep saying that. And the more you say it, is the more you program your memory to only recall the things that you programmed it with. How can you expect that you're going to say positive and do positive and think positive and be positive when you've only programmed your mind with negative? It's like Saturday. It's a beautiful day outside. You sit in front of the TV all day, and one of my friends call it the idiot box, and you sit in front of it all day, and that's what you've programmed your mind with. And now Monday, you're at work and you need to think strategically, and you can't think because your mind is a fog. It's like everything's a blur. Why? Because you programmed your brain with all the negative stuff. You never said, let me find a book that's going to help me. You never said, let me listen to something positive online that I've been thinking about listening to for some time. So I'm here to tell you today that you're better than what you think. As simple as that statement is, some people really have never taken the time to sit down and think about it. You're better than what you think. Think about that for a second, ladies and gentlemen. You are better than what you think you are. It was Henry Ford who said, if you think you can, you can, and if you think you can't, you can't. In both scenarios, you are correct. But I want you to think that you can. I want to think that you're able. I want you to think that you are capable. I want you to start this positive self-talk. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't do, or let me rephrase it. One of the things that some people do is they write a to-do list at the beginning of each day, whether you own a business or whether you are the CEO for a company or whether you work for a company. One of the things that most people do is they simply put a to-do list. But imagine if you had a do not do list. A list that you will not do these things. Think about that for a second. You really need three. You need a to-do list, you need a don't do list, and you need a to learn list. Now, that may be foreign to most people, but how many people have put a list of things together that I need to learn these things in 2019? How many people have put a list together that says, today I will not do these things. No matter what happens, I won't do these things. Now, there are the few who just start the day, and what they do is they are now attacking the things of yesterday. They're trying to put out the fires and the emergencies that these were the things that should have been done yesterday, and instead of doing them yesterday, now today they're emergencies, and that's kind of how you start your day. Ladies and gentlemen, develop a clear sense of purpose. Eliminate the distractions, because distractions will pull you to the side, they'll pull you to the rear, they will get you to stand still. The more you let God's purpose infiltrate your mind and your spirit, the more you'll develop the sense of peace and confidence about who you are. That is key, ladies and gentlemen. So let me ask you this question then. Where does self-confidence come from? How do you develop self-confidence? And you know what I think? Self-confidence comes from doing the small things and doing them well. That's it. Plain and simple. There is no secret to being confident. How do you develop self-confidence? You do the small things well, and you do them right, and you do them when they're supposed to be done. As I've said in one of my previous broadcasts, I've ran the New York City Marathon, but it started with running my first mile. And I remember running my second mile, and I remember running a 4-mile run, and I remember you learn to do those small things well. You don't start day one running 22 miles and say, okay, good, I'm ready for the marathon. Day one, I ran 1 mile. My next run was 2 miles, and I did 2 miles for a while until I felt good enough to bump it up to 3 miles. And then when I felt good enough and I was developing and I was getting stronger, then I started running 4 miles. Learn to do the small things well, and in so doing, ladies and gentlemen, you will develop this confidence, because it's a boost. When you do something small and you succeed, then you move on to the next one, because now you realize that I can do this. I can do this. And what comes to mind is the scripture, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things. I'm not attacking this on my own. I am doing it through Christ. I already have help. I already have someone who is willing and able to help me, who created me. And he's willing to help me. If you ignore the small things, eventually they become the big emergencies. They grow into the mountains and they will attack you, and you will have so much on your hands. And so the things that you should be doing today, You can't do them because you're fighting yesterday. You're fighting from yesterday. Self-confidence, then, ladies and gentlemen, is not neglecting the small things in life. Self-confidence is ensuring that you do the right things at the right time. Prioritize the right things. Get those things done. Organize your day's activities. Don't allow the day to go by without prioritizing things, and make sure that first things are placed first. And make time. Figure out what time of the day you are your sharpest, you're at your best, and that's when you tackle the bigger problems. That's when you tackle the challenges that you know need to get done, the priorities based on what you put on your list. This is so important. Because most people don't do that. As simple as it sounds, ladies and gentlemen, most people don't do that. They don't prioritize. They don't organize. And as a result, their lives is just one reaction to a negative thing after another. That's what they end up doing. So maybe you need to take a class. Maybe you need to read a book. Maybe you need to consult with others. Maybe you need to just hang out with some people who are positive. Rise above the pettiness, ladies and gentlemen. Rise above the distractions. Rise above people with, let me have a sidebar here and a sidebar there. Get rid of the negative thoughts. You have to monitor your own thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. I can't say that any clearer. You have to monitor your thoughts, because if you don't, you are constantly programming your brain with negative. Get enthusiastic about your future. That is key. Get excited about your plans. Know that you are here to change the world. Know that you're here to impact the world. Now, if you don't get excited about your future and your plans, who do you think's going to do it for you? No one's going to get excited for you. They're too busy being involved in their own lives and their own purpose. You have to get excited about yours, and you have to know what your world is about and how you're going to impact the world. You need to know how you're going to help people. You need to get excited about your future, because if you don't, no one will. Let me put it to you this way. Demand excellence of yourself. Don't short circuit your future by taking shortcuts in life today. Demand that you be excellent. If you won't be excellent, then who will? Who will do it for you? If you don't demand excellence of yourself, guess what you're telling the world? You don't need to demand excellence of me because I'm average and I'm mediocre. Stop doing that. Each time you do the wrong thing and say the wrong thing, and you reinforce that in your computer. If you're willing to take the necessary steps to change, then this will work for you. So develop expertise in one area. Figure out one thing that you're good at. Whether it's on a job or in your business, figure out one thing that you're good at and work to improve yourself on it daily. Learn one new thing every day. Be prepared, ladies and gentlemen, for success. All of this is really preparing you to be successful down the road. Someone taught me this years ago, and it's a lot of P's, so I want you to listen clearly. It says, prior proper preparation produces predictable performance. There are no secrets. There are no secrets to success. Take time to prepare. If you rush through the preparation phase, you may miss some important steps. And in missing these important steps, guess what happens? Later on, when you're faced with a challenge, you may not have the right answer and you end up making a wrong choice, and it creates failure and it creates disappointment. So take time to prepare properly. Don't rush through the preparation phase. Stop trying to get on the field too quickly. Make sure you go through the necessary steps. Prepare yourself for success, ladies and gentlemen. Life will pass you by if you are unprepared. Now, one of the worst things that can happen to someone is to have a really great opportunity fall right in your lap and you're unprepared for it. You're unprepared to take advantage of this opportunity. It's like people say, oh, the stock market is all the way down. Man, the stock market is ready for a boom. But guess what? You spent all your money on clothes and vacations and material things. And so now there's no money to invest in the stock market. And one of the things to keep in mind, when the stock market is down, there's some people who make money off of it. When the stock market is up, there's some people who make money off of it. And some people think, I have to buy low to sell high. But guess what? Either way, you can make money. But if you have no money to invest, then it really doesn't matter if the market is up or down. If real estate is selling dirt cheap in a particular area, and you know that the time is coming in the near future when real estate's going to take off in that area, if you are not prepared monetary wise to take advantage of it, then it really doesn't matter. You have to be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare yourself, because you never know when opportunities are going to come. Make sure you're ready, so when they come, you are able to step into that and move forward. I want you to see yourself this year as a success. You have to picture yourself, visualize yourself in your mind. Sometimes you have to do that, because some people, when they think of themselves, all they think of is negative. They let other people say negative things about them. They never correct those people. They believe what other people say about them, and as a result, they stay in that rut. They never move forward. So I'm going to encourage you today. Talk enthusiastically about yourself. Speak enthusiastically about your dreams and your goals, but to the right people. You don't want to go talk to people who are going to put you down and tell you that you can't. I'd love for you to write your goals down, review them, update them on a regular basis. Say them out loud, and say them often. It doesn't matter how big they are, and it doesn't matter how far off they may seem. When you start to tell your internal computer that I am successful and I will accomplish ABC this year, that programming may be foreign to your computer, and it may appear to be rejecting that programming, but if you keep saying it over and over, it will become the norm, and pretty soon your program will start to find ways to help you to accomplish those dreams and goals. So, as I close, I want you to remember this. Make this year your year of breakout. Make this year that you break out of the mold. Make this the year that you break out of obscurity. Make this the year that you step out and accomplish your dreams and goals. Ladies and gentlemen, start with the little things. With that, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I'd love for you, as you listen to this program, to click the like button and to share it with your contacts so the word can get out. Make it a great Saturday, ladies and gentlemen.